You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You've got a to-do list a mile long, you know you should be working, but you just can't. Now, the internet is absolutely crammed with these complex productivity hacks from super high achievers. But what if you're not trying to, build an empire overnight? What if you just want to get your work done without it feeling like this huge uphill battle? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down a surprisingly simple, science-backed way to get past that feeling and finally get things done. Let's dive in.
And honestly, this is the heart of the problem. We see someone else's 5 a.m. workout and journaling routine, and we try to just copy and paste it into our own lives. But it's pretty much doomed to fail from the start. Why? Well, because our goals, our energy, our daily responsibilities, they're totally unique. Maybe you're a night owl. Maybe you have kids you need to get to school. A one-size-fits-all plan just isn't going to cut it.
This is the real question, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to build a routine when you're feeling all fired up and motivated, but what about all the other days? The days when you feel lazy or totally uninspired, or you just want to binge watch something. How in the world do you get started then? Okay, so to solve this, first we have to figure out who the real enemy is. And here's a little hint. It's not what you think. It's not about a lack of time, and it's not about a lack of skill. It's this invisible force that, believe me, gets all of us. So let's give this enemy a name. Let's call it the resistance. It's that invisible wall you slam into when you even think about opening that document or starting that project. All of a sudden, it seems way too hard, you're just not in the mood, and a million other things, like checking your email, suddenly feel way more important. This feeling, this is the single biggest hurdle. And this slide says it all, really. Getting started on a task feels like you're trying to push a giant boulder up a hill. But once you get it moving, even just a little bit, it's like it starts rolling on its own. The momentum just takes over. I mean, think about it. How many times have you forced yourself to start something, only to look up an hour later totally in the zone thinking, this wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be? So if the main problem is just getting started, then the solution isn't about brute force or more willpower. It's about being smarter. We need a way to kind of trick our brains into walking right past the resistance. And the key to this little trick comes from a really old psychology experiment that involved bells and some dogs.
Yeah, you've probably heard of Pavlov and his dogs. He wasn't trying to figure out productivity, but what he discovered about how our brains make connections is incredibly powerful, and it's something we can totally use to our advantage.
So here's the quick version of how it worked. Pavlov noticed that dogs, naturally drool when they see food. Simple enough? Then he started ringing a bell right before he brought out the food. He did this over and over and over again. And then something amazing happened. The dog started drooling at just the sound of the bell, even if there was no food anywhere in sight. Their brains had been conditioned to connect the bell with the food. And this is where it gets really cool for us. We can use that exact same idea on ourselves. We can create our own bell, a specific automatic trigger that tells our brain, hey, it's work time, without us even having to argue with ourselves about it. And this is your productivity bell, a pre-work ritual. Now, this isn't some complicated hour-long thing. No way. It's a short, super simple sequence of actions you do every single time before you start a particular task. So, for example, here's a great ritual for writing. Step 1, make a cup of green tea. Step 2, put on a specific playlist or song that you only listen to when you're working. And step 3, this one is a really clever bit of brain hacking. Just read what you wrote yesterday. See, it completely lowers the stakes. You're not telling yourself, I have to write a masterpiece. You're just reading. But what happens? You spot a little typo, or you get a new idea, and bam, before you even realize it, you're already working. Now, when you're making your own ritual, there are a couple of key rules. First, it has to be ridiculously easy. Making tea is easy. Doing 50 push-ups? Not so much. The ritual itself can't become another thing you resist. And second, you have to keep that association pure. Don't listen to your special work playlist when you're just tidying up. That sound is for work and only for work. All right, so you've built your trigger. That's step 1, and it's a big one. To really level this up, the next step is to figure out when to ring that productivity bell to get the absolute best results. Just think about your day. Your ability to focus isn't just a flat line from morning to night, right? It's got peaks and valleys. And we all have these golden hours, usually a 2 to 4 hour window where our brain is just naturally more switched on and creative. The whole secret is to line up your most important work with your body's natural energy peak. Here's a really simple experiment to find yours. For 1 week, do your most important,
brain-intensive task in the morning. The very next week, move that same kind of task to the afternoon. And in the third week, try it in the evening. The goal here is not to be a superhero who works all day. It's to be a scientist. You're just collecting data on yourself to see when you feel on top of your game and when you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle.
And you can track it with a super simple table like this one. Every day, just jot down when you worked, give your energy a quick rating from 1 to 5, and maybe add a little note about how you felt. It really doesn't need to be any more complicated than that.
After just 3 weeks, you're going to have some really interesting data to look at. Look for the patterns. When does work feel almost easy? And when does it feel like a total slog? You might discover you're a beast that deep focus in the morning, but your best creative ideas show up late at night. There is no right answer here. There's only your answer.
In this part is absolutely critical. Once you figure out when your golden hours are, you have to protect them. I mean, fiercely. This is your peak performance window. Don't you dare waste it on scrolling through social media or running unimportant errands. That time is for your most important work, and you need to defend it at all costs. So, we have our trigger, the ritual, and we have our timing, the golden hours. There's just one last piece to this puzzle, and it's a crucial mindset shift that ties it all together. This slide basically shows you the whole magic trick. On the left, you've got the goal. Write a full script. That sounds like a giant, intimidating mountain, and just thinking about it creates the resistance. But on the right, you have the process. Drink tea and read. That's it. It's a small, easy, even pleasant first step, and suddenly starting becomes effortless because you're not thinking about the huge mountain anymore. You're just thinking about taking that one little step on the path in front of you. This is the ultimate mindset shift. You need to redefine what success means for your day. Success isn't finishing the entire project. Success is just showing up and doing your ritual. That's it. If you do that, you've already won the day. The results, well, they'll take care of themselves.
See, by building a system, your simple ritual, timed with your golden hours, you create a reliable path that gets you where you want to go. The results will come, not from stressing about the end goal, but as a natural side effect of just being consistent. You just have to trust the process you've built for yourself.
So, forget about being productive. That's too big, too vague. Instead, focus on the smallest possible action that gets you in the chair. Your only job is to show up and ring your bell. So, what's your ritual going to be? What's that one easy first step you can take?